Welcome back to the channel. Rare Coins History, where pocket change becomes treasure, and every coin has a story waiting to be told. Today, we're going to rewind the clock and uncover the secret behind one of America's most beloved coins, the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Yes, the 1-cent coin that you may have seen 100 times, maybe even tossed into a jar or kept in a drawer for years without a second thought. But trust me, this isn't just any old penny. This is a coin that carries history in its copper, tells a story through its design, and, if you're incredibly lucky, could be worth a small fortune. So don't blink. Because by the end of this video, you just might be diving headfirst into your coin stash, searching for one of these vintage treasures. Let's travel back in time to 1948. The world was in recovery mode after the Second World War. In America, the economy was booming, soldiers were returning home, and a new era of innovation and prosperity was beginning. This was the post-war generation. Baby boomers were being born, suburbs were expanding, and coins like the humble penny were a part of everyday life, jingling in pockets, used in vending machines, and passed from hand to hand in every corner of the country. And in that same year, the United States Mint continued a long-standing tradition, striking the Lincoln Wheat Penny. By 1948, the Lincoln cent had already become an American classic. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. Victor David Brenner, the coin's designer, created a profile of Lincoln so iconic that it remains on the penny to this very day. But the reverse side of the coin, that's where the true charm lies. In 1948, the Lincoln penny still featured the wheat ears design. Two stylized stalks of wheat curved around the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, a simple yet powerful tribute to American agriculture, hard work, and growth. These wheat pennies, as they came to be known, have a rustic beauty that collectors absolutely love. Now let's talk about the mint marks, because that tiny letter beneath the date can make all the difference. In 1948, Lincoln Wheat pennies were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. If your coin doesn't have a mint mark under the date, it came from Philadelphia. If there's a small d, it was minted in Denver. And if you see an S, it was struck in San Francisco. All 3 versions have their place in the collector's market, but some are much rarer than others, especially when condition and unique features are factored in. Now here's where things get exciting. Although these coins were minted by the millions, only a fraction of them have survived in pristine, untouched condition. Most were circulated heavily, worn down, scratched, or faded from decades of use. That's just what happens to a coin when it's in pockets, purses, and drawers for over 75 years, but every so often, one of these coins shows up in nearly perfect condition, with its original shine, sharp detail, and flawless features. And in the world of coin collecting, condition is king. A 1948 wheat penny in mint state, meaning it was never used, never dropped, and barely even touched, is already valuable. But what makes some of them truly stand out are the errors. Because let's face it, no mint is perfect. There are 1948 pennies with double dies, where the lettering or numbers appear slightly doubled due to a die shift during production. These are among the most desirable errors, especially if the doubling is dramatic and easy to see. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin was struck while misaligned in the press. This results in part of the design being shifted to the side, sometimes even leaving a blank crescent on the edge of the coin. These types of errors are very collectible, and the more off-center the strike, while still keeping the date visible, the more valuable the coin becomes. Another rare type is the repunched mint mark, where the mint letter was stamped more than once, resulting in a shadow or doubled mint mark under the date. It's subtle, but collectors are obsessed with these variations because they're incredibly difficult to find. And then, there's the material itself. Although most 1948 pennies were made of a bronze alloy, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, some experimental or transitional planchets occasionally made their way into circulation. A penny struck on the wrong metal, like a leftover steel planchet from 1943, or a foreign planchet used by mistake, would be an ultra-rare and extremely valuable find. So how do you know if your 1948 penny is special? Start by examining it closely. Look at the date. Check for a mint mark. Is the coin bright and unblemished, or dark and worn? Use a magnifying glass to look for doubling in the lettering or numbers. Hold it under a light and see if it still shines like it just left the mint. If anything about the coin looks unusual, or if it appears to be in exceptionally good condition, your next step should be professional grading. Companies like PCGS or NGC will carefully evaluate the coin, assign it a grade, and authenticate any errors. Once your coin is graded and certified, its true value in the collector's market becomes crystal clear. Now here's a fun fact: thousands of people have discovered rare coins in the most unexpected places. Estate sales, thrift shops, coin rolls from the bank, and even junk drawers in their own homes. It happens more often than you might think, and there's no better feeling than realizing that the penny you've been overlooking for years is actually a rare gem.so. Could your 1948 wheat penny be one of the rare ones? Well, that depends. Is it uncirculated? Does it have a minting error? Is it beautifully preserved with full detail and rich color? If so, you may want to brace yourself, because what you're holding might not just be a piece of American history. It might be a genuine hidden treasure. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. There is a known example of a 1948 Lincoln wheat penny, struck with a rare error and preserved in stunning, uncirculated condition, that sold for a breathtaking total of $90,000. That's right. $90,000 for a single penny, and who knows? There might be another one out there, waiting to be found. Maybe it's in your collection. Maybe it's in a coin roll you haven't opened yet. Or maybe it's in your change right now, just waiting for you to take a closer look. Today we're going back in time, way back to a moment in American history that shaped the future. We're diving deep into a tiny but powerful artifact of that era, the 1946 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, if you're holding on to one of these in your collection or just stumbled upon it in an old coin jar, you're going to want to watch this video all the way through. Why? Because that little copper coin sitting in your hand might be worth far more than you ever imagined. Let's begin with the time period. The year was 1946. The world had just emerged from the darkness of World War II. American soldiers were coming home, families were rebuilding, and the country was shifting its focus from war production to peace and prosperity. In that same year, the U.S. Mint continued doing what it had done for decades, producing Lincoln cents. But these were more than just coins. They were symbols of resilience, transition, and the hope of a new beginning. The Lincoln wheat penny was already a familiar sight by 1946. First introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin had become an icon of American coinage. With Lincoln's dignified profile on the front and two stalks of wheat on the back, the design was simple, beautiful, and deeply symbolic. The wheat design, crafted by Victor David Brenner, represented America's agricultural roots, the working class, and the nourishment of a growing nation. But let's get into the real story here, the details that matter to collectors and the secrets that make certain 1946 pennies worth far more than 1 cent. First, mint marks. In 1946, Lincoln wheat pennies were produced at 3 major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint used its own small identifier beneath the date. No mint mark. That means your coin came from Philadelphia. A small d under the date. That one was minted in Denver, and if there's a little s, it was struck in San Francisco. All 3 mint versions have their own place in the numismatic world, but condition, rarity, and unusual errors are where things get truly exciting. And the 1946 wheat penny is no exception. Millions of these coins were produced, but most of them went straight into circulation, passed through countless hands, and were worn down through daily use. But a small number of these coins were set aside, kept in drawers, coin albums, or forgotten collections. A tiny fraction survived in pristine condition, untouched by time, with all the original shine and details intact. These are the coins that make collectors' hearts race. Now let's talk about what set certain 1946 pennies apart from the rest: minting errors. These small mistakes, made during the high-speed coin production process, are incredibly valuable to collectors because they are so rare and impossible to replicate. Point 1: such error is the double die. This occurs when the die that stamps the coin is misaligned during creation, causing elements of the design, like the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust, to appear doubled. If your 1946 penny shows clear signs of this kind of doubling, especially with strong lines and clean detail, you might be holding something truly special. Another notable variety is the off-center strike. Imagine the coin wasn't aligned correctly when it was stamped, causing part of the design to shift or disappear. Some off-center coins are only slightly misaligned, but the ones that are dramatically off-center while still showing the full date? Those are highly desirable. Then there are struck-through errors, where a foreign object got in between the die and the planchet during the minting process, leaving behind a strange texture or mark. These can look like scratches, gouges, or unusual patterns, but they're not damage. They're factory mistakes that happened at the moment of creation, and we can't forget repunched mint marks, where the small letter under the date was stamped twice or unevenly. If you've got a 1946 D or 1946 S penny with a slightly overlapping or shadowed mint mark, it could be one of these rare repunched varieties. Beyond errors, there's another major factor that determines a coin's value: condition. Coin collectors use a standardized grading scale from 1 to 70. Anything graded 60 and above is considered mint state, meaning it hasn't seen circulation. But a coin graded MS 65, MS 66, or higher, that's numismatic gold. Combine that condition with a minting error or rare variety, and your penny's value multiplies. And yes, color matters too. 1946 wheat pennies that have retained their original red copper luster are considered the most desirable. There are three categories of color: red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN. The red coins are the most valuable, especially when found in mint condition. Now, how do you know if your coin is special? First, don't clean it. Cleaning a coin destroys its value. Instead, inspect it gently under a good light. Use a magnifying glass or a coin loupe. Look closely at the date and mint mark. Are there any signs of doubling? Is the strike crisp and well-centered? Are there any strange marks that might be an error rather than damage? If you think you've got something unique, or even just a really clean, bright, uncirculated coin, the next step is professional grading. Reputable companies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, will examine your coin, authenticate it, and assign it an official grade. Once it's certified, it can be bought, sold, or displayed in the global collector market. Many collectors and hobbyists have discovered rare coins by accident, while sorting old change, checking inherited collections, or even during casual coin roll hunting from the bank. And the 1946 wheat penny is one of those coins that still surfaces now and then, offering hope to anyone who dares to look a little closer at the ordinary. So don't ignore that old penny. Especially not the 1946 one. It might not shine like a silver dollar or glitter like gold, but it holds something even more valuable. It holds a piece of American history, and if you're lucky, it might hold something far more. And now for the moment you've been waiting for. Among all the Lincoln wheat pennies minted in 1946, one particularly rare example, with a striking mint error and in immaculate, uncirculated condition, was sold to an eager collector for an astonishing total of $80,000. Yes, you heard that right. $80,000 for a 1-cent coin from 1946. Today, we're setting our sights on a coin that's often overlooked, but make no mistake, it carries the weight of history and possibly the potential to change your life. That's right, we're talking about the 1939 Lincoln wheat penny. So before you brush it off as just another old penny, you might want to hang around. Because this unassuming 1-cent coin has secrets that could turn your next coin jar find into a collector's dream. Let's start by taking a step back in time. The year is 1939. The United States is slowly climbing out of the Great Depression. FDR is president. The world is on edge as tensions rise across Europe. While America isn't yet involved in World War II, history is in the making. Radio is booming. Hollywood is golden. And even in the smallest things, like pocket change, the mood of the nation is being minted. among the coins circulating in that pivotal year was the Lincoln wheat penny. Originally introduced in 1909 to mark the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this penny quickly became a symbol of strength, honesty, and unity, everything Lincoln stood for. And by 1939, it had become a familiar fixture in the hands and pockets of every American, but while the design might have remained consistent, not all 1939 pennies are created equal. Let's break it down. On the front of the coin, or obverse, we have the profile of President Lincoln, created by Victor David Brenner. It's a timeless portrait that continues to appear on the penny even today. On the reverse, you'll find two elegant stalks of wheat, one on each side of the words, 1 cent and United States of America. These wheat ears symbolize growth, abundance, and the hard-working spirit of the country. Now, pay close attention to what's underneath the date. That's where the story begins to change, because that's where the mint mark lives. In 1939, Lincoln wheat pennies were produced at 3 different mints. If there's no mint mark, the coin was minted in Philadelphia. If you see a small D, it was made in Denver, and if there's an S, it came from San Francisco. Each of these mints produced millions of pennies in 1939. But here's the twist: depending on where it was minted and how it was struck, your penny could be incredibly rare and extremely valuable. Most 1939 pennies went into circulation immediately and were used for decades. They were passed through soda machines, candy stores, payphones, and piggy banks. They were dropped on sidewalks, tossed into jars, and forgotten in dresser drawers. As a result, most of these coins are worn, scratched, and barely legible. But every once in a while, a few special ones survived in remarkable condition, untouched by time, and holding mint errors that slipped through unnoticed, and it's those few rare survivors that command attention from collectors around the world. Let's talk about what makes certain 1939 wheat pennies so extraordinary. First, there's grade and condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect, as if it was minted yesterday. A 1939 penny graded above 65, especially with that original red or red-brown luster, is already impressive. But if that coin also has a rare mint error? That's where things get exciting. Now, one of the most talked about errors is the doubled die. This happens when the die that strikes the coin is slightly misaligned during the minting process, causing the letters or numbers to appear doubled. On the 1939 penny, this can sometimes be seen on the date, the word Liberty, or In God We Trust. These errors are rare, and when combined with high grade and rich color, they can send the coin's value soaring. Another exciting variety is the repunched mint mark, commonly abbreviated as RPM. That's when the mint mark was punched more than once, slightly off from the first strike. A 1939 S or 1939 D with an RPM becomes a standout among collectors. You might also stumble across a die crack, off-center strike, or even a coin struck on the wrong metal planchet. These are production errors that occurred at the mint, and although rare, they make your penny instantly more valuable, because no two are exactly alike. But even without an error, condition alone can make a huge difference. Imagine finding a 1939 penny with sharp details, full wheat lines on the reverse, glowing copper luster, and no wear. That's a collector's dream. Especially if it has full red color, meaning it hasn't oxidized or changed to a dull brown over time. Now, if you think you have a special 1939 penny, don't clean it. That's the number one mistake people make. Cleaning a coin, even gently, destroys its value. Instead, store it carefully, handle it only by the edges, and consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll determine its authenticity, grade, and note any special attributes or errors. Graded and slabbed coins not only give you peace of mind but open up the world of collectors, auctions, and online marketplaces where high-value coins change hands. You might be wondering, how do people even find these rare coins today? The answer is, everywhere. Some people find them while roll hunting, searching through rolls of pennies from the bank. Others discover them in inherited coin collections or old family jars. A lucky few have even spotted them in everyday pocket change. It happens more than you think. But the key is knowing what to look for, and now you do. So, you've stuck with us this far, and you're probably wondering, just how valuable can one of these 1939 Lincoln wheat pennies really be? Well, here's the truth. Point 1. Incredibly rare 1939 wheat penny, featuring a dramatic error, a perfect mint state grade, and brilliant uncirculated color, was sold to a serious collector for a jaw-dropping total of $86,000. Yes, $86,000, for a single penny. And the most exciting part? There might be another one out there. It could be sitting in your coin folder. It could be at the bottom of a dusty jar in someone's attic. It could be in your hand, right now, waiting to be recognized. Today, because we're digging deep into one of the most iconic yet often underestimated coins in American history, the 1937 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, at first glance, this little copper coin might not look like much. After all, it's just 1 cent, a piece of pocket change that most people wouldn't even bother to bend down and pick up off the sidewalk. But what if I told you that this unassuming penny holds secrets? That it carries the story of an era, and that, under the right conditions, this single coin could be worth a small fortune. That's not just collector fantasy, that's fact. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you might be inspired to start checking every old coin in your collection. Or even every penny you come across from now on. Let's begin with the backdrop. The year was 1937. America was still clawing its way out of the Great Depression. Franklin D. Roosevelt was president, the New Deal programs were shaping a new social and economic landscape, and the nation was on the cusp of recovery. At the same time, storm clouds were gathering overseas, with the early tremors of World War II already shaking Europe and Asia. Back home, life was beginning to stir again. People were working, spending cautiously, and saving every cent literally. And during this period, the Lincoln wheat penny played a vital role in the everyday economy. It bought you a newspaper, a stick of gum. It helped make exact change at the general store. But what most people didn't know is that some of these pennies, particularly the ones minted in 1937, would one day become highly sought-after collector's items. So, what makes the 1937 penny so special? To answer that, let's start with the design. On the obverse side, the front, you have the bold, enduring profile of President Abraham Lincoln. Sculpted by Victor David Brenner in 1909 to mark Lincoln's 100th birthday, this portrait remains one of the most famous images ever used on U.S. coinage. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the simple but symbolic wheat ears design on the reverse, 2 curved stalks of wheat flanking the words, 1 cent and United States of America. This design stood from 1909 until 1958, representing both American agricultural strength and the hard-working spirit of its people. But now let's zoom in on the specifics of the 1937 issue. During this year, the Lincoln wheat penny was minted at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, which struck the coins with no mint mark; Denver, where coins feature a small D beneath the date; and San Francisco, which used the familiar S mint mark. All 3 mints produced millions of coins in 1937, but here's where it gets interesting. While the majority of these pennies were used in daily life and worn down by decades of circulation, a tiny percentage were either set aside, misplaced, or preserved in untouched condition. And even fewer were struck with mint errors, the kinds of mistakes that can make a seemingly ordinary coin extremely rare and valuable. Let's talk about those minting errors. Because if you have a 1937 penny, you'll want to know what to look for. First up, double die errors. These happen when the coin's design is impressed twice at slightly different angles during production. On a 1937 penny, you might see this on the date, the word Liberty, or even, In God We Trust. That slight doubling, especially if it's dramatic and visible to the naked eye, is a big deal to collectors. Next, keep an eye out for off-center strikes. This is when the coin wasn't correctly aligned in the press and was struck off-center, leaving part of the design shifted or missing entirely. Depending on how far off it is, and whether the date is still fully visible, this error can significantly boost a penny's value. And then we have repunched mint marks, also known as RPMs. These occur when the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, often at slightly different angles. So, if you see a shadow, doubling, or strange shaping around the D or S mint mark, you might be looking at an RPM, and that's something collectors love to find. There are also rarer error types, like die cracks, lamination errors, or even strikes on foreign or leftover planchets, each of which can increase the coin's uniqueness and value. But even without an error, a 1937 penny in near-perfect condition, what collectors call mint state or uncirculated, is still a prize. That's because most coins from this era have been heavily circulated, which means sharp, well-struck examples with rich color and no damage are few and far between. Speaking of color, let's talk about it, because yes, the color of a penny matters. 1937 wheat pennies originally had a beautiful reddish copper tone. Over time, most of these coins turned brown due to oxidation. But those that still shine with a full red or red-brown luster? They're much rarer. In fact, high-grade, red coins, those graded MS-65 or higher by services like PCGS or NGC, are especially desirable. Now, if you think you have a special 1937 penny, whether it's because of a visible error, beautiful condition, or both, don't make the rookie mistake of cleaning it. Ever. Cleaning can instantly ruin a coin's value. Instead, hold it by the edges, store it safely, and get it professionally evaluated. Professional coin grading services will verify the coin's authenticity, assign it a grade, and encapsulate it for protection. Once graded, that coin can be confidently bought, sold, or showcased among serious collectors. You might be wondering, where are these rare 1937 pennies being found? The answer: everywhere. Coin rolls from the bank, estate sales, antique stores, online auctions, even old family jars sitting forgotten in closets. People all over the country have uncovered valuable coins in the most unexpected places. And the thrill of finding one, of realizing you've been holding onto a piece of history and rarity, is part of what makes coin collecting so addictive and exciting. Now, after all this talk about errors, mints, color, and condition, let's get to the moment you've been waiting for, because while most 1937 Lincoln wheat pennies are worth just a few cents, or a couple of dollars in decent shape, there are rare, high-grade examples out there, the kind with clean strikes, uncirculated condition, maybe even a dramatic error or rich red color, and one such 1937 penny, found with a rare minting flaw and preserved in near-perfect condition, sold to a private collector for a staggering total of $82,000. Yes. That's right. $82,000 for a coin originally worth just 1 cent. Today, we're diving into a coin that might just be hiding in your collection or even in your pocket, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, it looks like a simple piece of copper currency, but trust me, this penny holds layers of history, mystery, and potential value that could blow your mind. Let's rewind to 1941, a year etched deeply into the American consciousness. The world was at war, and while the United States had not yet officially entered World War II, the country was bracing for what lay ahead. On the home front, Americans were resilient, holding tight to their values and traditions, and penny by penny, they were investing in the future. The Lincoln wheat penny was part of that narrative, a small but powerful symbol of the nation's endurance and hope. The design of the 1941 penny follows the classic Lincoln wheat motif, which had been in circulation since 1909. On the obverse side, we see the dignified profile of President Abraham Lincoln, crafted by Victor David Brenner. This design honors one of America's greatest leaders and reminds us of his ideals: liberty, unity, and perseverance. Flip the coin over, and you'll be greeted by the wheat stalks, gently arching along the edges. This design, simple yet meaningful, represents growth, prosperity, and the agricultural roots of America. For decades, this imagery adorned billions of pennies that exchanged hands in every corner of the country. But here's where the story of the 1941 penny gets interesting. The year 1941 saw pennies minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, a small D; and San Francisco, an S. While millions were produced, some pennies stand out far above the rest because of their condition, rarity, and, most intriguingly, their minting anomalies. Mint errors are the holy grail for many collectors, and the 1941 penny has a few fascinating varieties. One of the most sought-after errors is the double die, a minting mishap where the coin's details appear doubled, especially noticeable on the date or lettering. This sort of imperfection wasn't intentional but happened during the production process, making such coins rare and immensely valuable. Another fascinating feature collectors chase is the repunched mint mark. For example, some 1941 D pennies show evidence of the D being stamped more than once, creating a shadow or a doubled effect. These subtle quirks make the coin one of a kind and highly desirable for numismatists worldwide. There are also off-center strikes and die cracks, rarer anomalies that occur when the minting machinery misaligns or the die itself wears or fractures. Such flaws create unique variations that collectors love to hunt for, and these coins often fetch higher prices at auction, but the real magic isn't just in errors. A 1941 penny that's uncirculated, meaning it shows no signs of wear and retains its original reddish copper luster, is a treasure in its own right. Most pennies from this era have been handled countless times and show signs of age, scratches, discoloration, and smoothing of the intricate details. Finding one that looks almost brand new is rare and makes a huge difference in value. Color plays a massive role in the coin's appeal. The original copper-red color tends to fade into a dull brown over the years, so a bright, red-toned penny is a collector's dream. Coins graded as MS-65 or higher with their brilliant red color intact are especially prized. If you ever come across a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, here's a pro tip: never clean it. Cleaning coins, even with the gentlest of methods, can strip away the patina and reduce the coin's value drastically. Instead, handle it by the edges and store it safely. If you suspect your coin might be special, consider sending it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. These companies authenticate and grade your coin, giving you confidence in its worth. Finding these coins can be a thrilling adventure. Whether you're digging through old rolls of pennies, inheriting a collection, or visiting estate sales and auctions, the 1941 penny could be hiding in plain sight. Many collectors have stories about discovering valuable coins in the most unexpected places, from dusty attic boxes to forgotten coin jars. So why is this particular penny so valuable? The answer lies in the blend of historical significance, rarity, condition, and those captivating mint errors. And when all these factors come together, it can create a coin that collectors worldwide eagerly seek. After thorough research and several high-profile auction sales, some of the most pristine and rare 1941 Lincoln wheat pennies, especially those with prominent mint errors or flawless condition, have commanded prices that seem almost unbelievable for a 1-cent coin. Ready for the big reveal: a rare, high-grade 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, with an exceptional mint mark and stunning condition, recently sold for a staggering $93,000. Yes, you heard that right. $93,000 for a single penny. So next time you stumble upon a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment. Examine it closely. That tiny piece of history might just be your ticket to a treasure that's been hiding in plain sight all along. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future coin discoveries. Until next time, keep hunting for those hidden gems, and happy collecting.